Fasten seatbelt sign blinked on, and the flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom, her tone unusually stern. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We're experiencing some turbulence." A graying businessman in seat 14C seemed particularly restless. He kept glancing behind him, his face pale and slick with sweat. I was seated diagonally across from him, in 15A, and couldn't help but notice when he whispered frantically to the flight attendant. Her face fell, but she nodded curtly and disappeared toward the cockpit. Moments later, she returned, locking eyes with the man. "Are you sure?" she asked, barely audible over the hum of the engines. He nodded, his hands trembling. The intercom buzzed again. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain said, his voice tight with strain. "We have a situation on board. For your safety, do not look out of the windows." Of course, someone peeked and clamped a hand over her mouth. Others followed. Against the endless black sky, pale faces pressed against the glass, their hollow eyes staring into the cabin. And the ghostly figures gripped the wings with claw-like hands. I couldn't tear my gaze away. One of the faces looked familiar. My heart dropped as I realized why. It was me. The engine sputtered, and the lights flickered. Panic erupted in the cabin. "Stay seated," the captain shouted over the intercom, his voice cracking. The air grew heavy, guttural whisper filled the plane. The words weren't in any language I knew, but their meaning was clear. "You're not supposed to be here." The businessman in 14C began to sob, clutching a small, battered notebook. He was muttering under his breath, something about an experiment and not enough time. The last thing I saw before the cabin went black was my ghostly doppelganger tearing its way through the window.